right, welcome back to another edition of Getting to Know the Back Sports Page staff. I am the host, Back Sports Page founder and CEO, Randy Zellea. And with us, an alumni has come home, I guess. That's the best way of saying it.
Very much.
Yeah, so let's welcome in Bill Keegle, who Bill was with us for a while. Obviously, family responsibilities took him away. And also, I think the best one, like we were discussing earlier, and sometimes, not only that, but you start prioritizing where you want to put your time.
Right.
And I think that's always been a very, very big thing for you. You have a daughter at home. You have a great wife who's, by the way, a very big Dave Matthews Band fan, which I gotta send you the link. I interviewed Jeff Coffin, who's the sax player from the Dave Matthews Band.
Oh, show like that. Yeah.
She was on he was on Off Topic with me 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'll send you over the interview. But yeah, this is the first time that you and I have shared the airwaves for a very, very long time, and it's good to see you, brother.
It's been a while. Yeah. Good to see you.
And I guess we're using this as the forum to announce that you're sort of back in the saddle with us, which I appreciate it, and it's good. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Good to see you. It's I'm very excited to come back. Like I've had a creative itch that I've been wanting to scratch for to quote Jordan when he retired or when he came back from retirement to join the Wizards. Yeah, man, it's one of those things, man. I have a million creative ideas, I think, and then I don't know if any of them are good, but I have a million of them, and just like you said, with family obligations, I have a little kid who, back when I was doing the podcast originally, was like 1.5. She's now 5. She started kindergarten. So yeah, a lot's changed. I'm working a lot less, which is a plus because I get to be home and I get to do stuff like this. I get to do stuff I actually enjoy, which is this.
And it doesn't hurt that there's a pandemic going on that gives you a little bit of free time too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So it's funny too. I remember when you and I first got hooked up, and one of the things that I know you and I had talked down was the direction of the site and what we were doing, and just like what was going on. And the conversation we had earlier, it was like you said to me, it was almost like a total 180. And I didn't realize it until after you and I were talking. I'm like, wow, I really do have a lot more things in order this time around. And I think it's because we learn from mistakes and we keep going and we just try to get better. We have a really good staff now. We have a really bunch of good guys and girls who are working with us, and we're just trying to make everything as best as we can. And like I've always, I don't think I've ever tried to make you feel like you weren't an asset here by any means.
No, never. It's probably been the opposite. You've probably made me feel a little bit better than I actually am, which is nice. But like I said, it had nothing to do. The reason I stopped doing the podcast had absolutely nothing to do with you or Back Sports Page or anybody at the site. I mean, you guys have all really been great to me. We did that Giants event like 4 years ago.
Oh my God, that was
I met a lot of the staff. That was a great night. I had a lot of fun. And like I said, it was a very unique opportunity. You got to interview a couple heroes, a couple guys that have been in my ear, or in front of my couch for a long time. So that was cool. But yeah, this is part of the thing. I really am excited to get back into it.
And it's funny. It's one of the things that we were discussing. I was talking with some of the staff. Is like when you first break into the business, you don't get that opportunity being thrown to the front lines.
No.
And I said, I do that. I mean, like I do that. And I'm not going to just throw you out there like, oh, welcome. This is your third day. Here's your first interview.
Right.
But I'm also going to put you in situations where you're going to sink or swim. And the only way you're going to learn how to do it is if you do it. Right. And that's the one thing that I've always done. And now, like during the Giant games, all post game and pre-game is like all post game stuff is done virtually. Everything is done through Zoom. So you even have the beat writers are not at the Giants games. So we're all on Zoom calls together and things are getting so what we do is for post game, I'll do Giants and we have the code to go somewhere else. So if we have somebody down in Washington and they're playing the Washington football team, then they jump onto the Washington football team call. And so we do that. So, I'm getting these guys their opportunities to be able to jump into the locker room, sort of to do virtual. They don't have to ask questions, but I want them to get the feel of it, what it's like, and the experience is working so far. So I might as well just keep rolling with it.
Right, absolutely. But that, like I said, that is the cool thing. It's like it's a lot of unique opportunities, and like you said earlier, I'm also the most excited because you said basically I'm giving you a canvas, and you bring your paint and you bring your brush, and you just create, which I love.
Well, then that's because like again, who am I to tell you what you should be doing?
Which I
If they're like, well, not only that, but if you say to me, well, I really have more of a passion for football. You know what, Bill, you should do some baseball then.
Right, right. Yeah,
Like,
it wouldn't work.
Well, no, it wouldn't work out. You're also a huge movie. You and I are a movie guy, and you and I end up quoting movies half the time we're on the phone with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had a real long conversation about The Sopranos, which was fun because there's very few people in my life that can keep up with me on Sopranos knowledge too, which is great.
Oh my god!
I mean, I would say I've watched every episode of The Sopranos at least 5 times, and maybe a couple of the greatest hits episodes at least 10. It's even just background noise while I'm cleaning the house, or I'll have it on my phone while I'm doing dishes or something. It's like Pine Barrens being one, White Caps being another. I mean, there's definitely classics.
White Caps is an underrated episode of that show.
It's such a good episode. I mean, I don't know if I've seen a better acting performance by a female actor than Edie Falco and as Carmela in that episode. She was amazing in that episode.
Isn't it amazing on how she does not get more roles in movies and TV?
My wife and I watched the show Nurse Jackie with her, and she was incredible in that. But you don't see her outside of the Sopranos and Nurse Jackie reruns.
Well, I don't think she needs to. I think she's making enough coin by that.
I'm pretty sure she's cashed a lot of checks just on the Sopranos, so you didn't even need the Nurse Jackie money. But if anybody that hasn't seen Nurse Jackie, very underrated. Definitely check it out. She's incredible in that show. Completely different character.
You heard that there's a Sopranos prequel movie.
I can't wait. James Gandolfini's son's playing him.
Yeah, that's awesome. But now, did you hear what's going on afterwards? There is talk of them picking up the series.
From where the movie leaves off?
No, from after.
Oh, so they're saying that Tony was killed?
They'll say like Tony passed away from a heart attack and whatever, and Mike Gandolfini is like a cousin or something like that, and they'll come in and run their family.
Can they? I just don't know if I'm interested in a version of. I think The Sopranos is perfect how it is, and I guess if David Chase is behind it, I'll trust it. But at the same time, it's kind of like, Tony's and the probably the most iconic television character maybe ever, especially for modern television. He's sort of the archetype of every show that's come out since that show.
Well, and it's funny you say that too, because if you look at not just The Sopranos, but you look at TV show endings, there's not a lot of shows that get it right.
No.
Like it's, they always say there's no such thing as a first impression. I say sometimes there's no such thing as a last impression, because you don't want to scratch your head and sit there going, really, that's how they end it. Now, I'm not talking about The Sopranos in this situation. That ending is always going to be debated for the end of time.
I think within ourselves, I mean, I hated it at first, but now that I'm older and I've sat with it a while, it's probably the best way to end it. You really want to kill Tony at the end of it? The only thing is I think they kind of tricked everybody and made everybody think that their TVs went out. They should have kept the little HBO thing at the bottom corner, because everybody thought their television went out. I mean, I did.
I agree with David Chase 110% what he wrote in his book. He said, "How dare the audience, after years of cheering Tony on, of all the stealing and the raping and the pillaging, and then on the last episode, all right, kill him."
Yeah.
Shame on us. You know what I mean? And I got to agree with David Chase on that. Like, he's 110% correct. Like, why? How dare we cheer him on for all these years? And then, but he did say he actually had a plan where Tony was going to get killed going into New York by Phil Leotardo, and then they voted against it, went with the route that they went.
Which I'm glad they did, because Phil Leotardo was not an important enough character over the length of the show to be the guy that have that privilege. Although I love that actor whose name is escaping me right now, but
Frank Vincent.
Thank you, Frank Vincent. He was great in Casino.
Oh my God, he was awesome in Casino.
Yeah. Sort of sad at the end how he turned on him. He ended up being the one that hit Pesci at the end of that movie, but that's neither here nor there. Billy Bass in Goodfellas, which is
oh God, yeah.
My poor daughter. I don't use the curse word with it, but I definitely tell her to go get her shine box every once in a while. She doesn't understand the reference. But yeah, the
That's my first Billy laugh of the day, by the way.
yeah. But yeah, I just I don't necessarily know if I would have agreed with Philly Otardo being the one that offs Tony, to sort of cap the series or the end of the series. I'm not a fan of that notion.
No, neither was I. And I don't know what other HBO shows you watch, but I was I like True Blood. I thought True Blood was good. I thought the ending was weak on that. I thought Boardwalk Empire. Did you watch Boardwalk Empire?
I didn't watch either. No.
All right, I'm not going to go into it then.
Okay, so I will tell you I hear the end of 6 Feet Deep was amazing.
6 feet under, yeah.
6 feet under, excuse me.
6 feet under was really good.
Excellent. I'm one of the few people that actually kind of like the ending of Breaking Bad because I think they just gave everybody what everybody was asking for. I just sort of like it almost seemed like it was a fan vote. Like, it just seemed like that's kind of how everybody wanted it to end. And then but so full disclosure here, I've actually retired from watching new television shows. I have finished one season of Better Call Saul, and then I started Succession, so I'm going to finish Succession, but I'm done after that. I'm retired from watching new television shows. I'll just watch reruns of The Office until I die.
Listen, I'll be okay. Before we get to The Office, because that's where I was going to go in a few seconds, but I don't watch a lot of new television. I think the only new show I consistently watch is This Is Us because I think the writing is amazing.
My wife loves that show.
It's an amazing
episode, which makes me a bad husband, I think.
My fiance won't watch it either. It's like
okay.
She's like he doesn't feel like she can invest the time into a show. But
yeah,
I watched Entourage.
I liked Entourage. Yeah,
Entourage ended and they left it open for the movie, and that like the plan was always to do a movie. And
right.
I was tweeting back and forth with Doug Ellen, the creator, the other day, and I said, you can always go back and just if you feel that there's some unfinished business, go back to instead of going back to the big screen, go 2-hour special on HBO to put the final bow on it, so we can all just end it now. And
right.
He wrote back. He's like, no one wants it. No one cares about about a 40-year-old movie star at that point. I'm just like,
yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I actually just read today that Ari Gold was supposed to make a cameo in the last season of Ballers. Which would have been interesting, but it sort of HBO sort of dropped the ball on it, I guess, is kind of how I read it.
Well, it was written into the script and everything else like that. That's another good show. Ballers, I thought was very good.
Yeah, a friend of mine's really into that show. I like I said, I've given up on television shows. I've retired from them. I don't think a television show could be better than The Sopranos. I did watch The Wire as well. The Wire is like, I do realize I should never have binged The Wire. I should have watched it in increments. Like how it was probably meant to be because it's too much there and there's so many characters.
Too much.
I said it's like trying to eat. I always equated it's like trying to eat a peanut butter sandwich with nothing to drink. Like it's so dense that it's sort of tough to binge because I think you need to like do that one over the long haul. But I did love The Wire, especially season 3. I love season 3.
We know which one also too. There's 2 shows on HBO I would recommend you binge watch. Mm-hmm. The one was Ballers because you love football. And so I think that would be a good one for you because they do a very, very good job of the life in the NFL. They had 3 former NFL players on the writing staff.
Yeah. And I liked John David Washington. I like him as an actor. I really enjoyed him in Black Klansman. He's Denzel Washington's son.
Yes.
So if you're cut from those loins, then you're going to be spectacular because to me, Denzel can't do wrong.
Yeah, so, that's a good one. That's really a good one for you to watch.
Yeah.
And then the other one on HBO's The Newsroom.
Newsroom. I did watch the first season of The Newsroom. I liked it. I'm just sort of not interested in that aspect of media. I don't like news media. It depresses me for some reason. It's just, but I'll give it a try because I do like Aaron Sorkin a lot. So I will probably try to revisit that one if I ever unretire from watching television shows. But I will tell you, HBO did do probably the greatest thing I've ever watched with my own 2 eyes, and that's including movies, television shows, anything. And it's the first season of True Detective.
Oh my God, that show re-evolutionized television.
Yes, especially the first season with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson was absolutely incredible. I mean, Matthew McConaughey. I said Edie Falco is the greatest female actress I think I've ever seen, and I think Matthew McConaughey. After watching that, and I would have never said that in 2009, but I think Matthew McConaughey probably. I don't know. You could probably do as well, but I don't think there's a level above that you can get to. I just think what McConaughey did in that show was spectacular. And Woody Harrelson, when I don't have a beard and I'm thin, and when I was younger, I looked like Woody Harrelson in White Men Can't Jump, which is
Great
also
movie.
Probably my favorite sports movie of all time. I'd have to sit down and really think about it, but as of right now, it's probably my favorite sports movie of all time.
Now, you brought up The Office before.
The greatest sitcom of all time.
Oh my! It was definitely right up there in the top 5 or 6. And I got to tell you that all these rumors about the Office reboot they were trying to do, I think it sort of died down. You know, it's going to leave Netflix and go on Peacock.
It's the only reason I have Peacock.
Yeah, it's going to go. It's going to go on the Peacock, and they're like, we're trying to figure out a way how to support it. And I said out loud to a couple people, I'm like, there's got to be a point where you have to. Like the old expression of poop and get off the pot, or poop or get off the pot, because these characters are not ageless characters. You're not gonna, and if you decide to revisit it, you're not gonna get Steve Carell back.
No
matter what.
You're not gonna get John Krasinski.
No, that's the opposite. John Krasinski said he will do anything as far as an Office reboot.
Really?
Yeah,
he said too famous now. He just made a movie that made like $500 million, and he actually filmed The Quiet Place 2 in Buffalo. Actually, yeah, the company I used to work for used to distribute water and coffee to the offices for that movie when it was set up in downtown, and they filmed it in and around Buffalo. There's a couple rural areas they filmed. But it is kind of funny to see, like, the poster for it is the Grand Island Bridge, which I drive over pretty much daily for work.
Well, he made a comment multiple times saying if it was comes to any type of Office reunion or anything or reboot of some sorts, he said he'd be in for it. So
I love
that's
that about him, though. That's awesome. That makes me really like that actor a lot more.
Well, it's funny. Rainn Wilson, though, is the one who came out and said it has to be the right situation, and he said the last 4 or 5 episodes that they did of the show, those last 5 episodes of the 9th season, they said we're just as good as anything else that they were doing at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really, really hard. I agree with Steve where he says there's a lot of things obviously you can't get away with now that they were doing on that show.
Oh, watch Diversity Day. Watch Diversity Day.
Oh God, yeah,
it's horrifying. Horrifying. There's no way they do that anymore. There's no way. I mean, there's even little subtle things like Angela makes a comment about an Asian girl's Hello Kitty backpack. It's like, oh my God. I was like, the show would get kicked off the air, but people watch it now. I mean, people watch it. It's like huge with young kids. My daughter's 5 years old, and she'll walk around the house telling us, "Boy, have you lost your mind? Because I'll help you find it." Or she'll do she'll reenact the whole scene from Stress Relief, where Dwight says, "Give me some ice in a styrofoam bucket," like where he stabs the dummy and like puts the face on his. She'll do the whole scene. She watches that show with us. She makes me listen. She makes me play The Office Ladies for her, the podcast with Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey.
Well, what about the scene from the Stress Release episode where Steve Carell's trying to help Stanley?
Yeah, and he puts the wall in his mouth. Yeah, and then he has the comments about Barack Obama and stuff. It's like that show doesn't. There's no way that show's on the air anymore. And then there's another part that I watched where they have a party at Jim's, and he goes, "You really invited that guy?" And he goes, "He's a great guy, not a terrorist." And I'm like, how does that happen? How does that happen? That's the height of the war. That's the height of the war on terror. He says that, and NBC lets it go. There's no way that happens anymore.
Yeah, you're right. They just can't get away with it. Real quick, let's dive in some sports. We went 19 minutes. We haven't even brought up sports yet.
Well, listen, you get me talking about movies in the office. You can,
Well, we'll
do a Joe Rogan-esque podcast.
Well, listen. By the way, I've got to let you know, Anchorman 3 is in the works.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah,
2 had some funny stuff in it. It's not as good as the first one. 2 had some funny stuff in it.
Okay, I always feel like I have to inform people about this. I bought the Blu-ray DVD bonus edition of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 versions of the movie in there.
For Anchorman 1 or 2? I know they have
2.
They have 1. Oh, okay, I didn't know they did a second. I didn't know they did that with. They did that with the first one as well. I didn't know they did that with the second one.
The second one, there's 2 full different movies in there for Anchorman 2.
Hilarious.
So I watched it. I'm like, they actually had, like, for example, when they go into the newsroom and like Rob and like was it Rob Lowe is like, no, not Rob Lowe. The other anchor he's feuding with, that he had to change his name.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. Hang on, I can look it up.
I wanted to say it was Rob Lowe, but Rob Lowe was a different role in that movie.
Yeah, hang on. Because it's gonna drive me nuts too. Oh my god. This is what happens when you get old.
But in the meanwhile, but when they go to that scene, that initial one, like he's like, "Hey, did you say something? You talking to me?" And all of a sudden they break out into a musical number in the alternate version. I'm like, oh my god! So they wanted to do that. And they wanted to bring that in, and there's one movie I'm glad that they were not going to do a remake of. They were going to do a remake of Back to School.
I'm not familiar with Back to School.
Rodney Dangerfield.
See, that Rodney Dangerfield is an absolute blind spot for me because I don't know why, but I've never been a fan of him. And I think the reason is because the very first movie I saw him in was Natural Born Killers, and his character was so disturbing that I was like, nope.
Okay.
With this guy.
When you watch,
I watched Ladybugs a lot as a kid, but Natural Born Killers has scarred me for life.
Watch Back to School. They were going to do a remake with Cedric the Entertainer as the main guy.
My thing is, like, why don't they just make an original movie with Cedric the Entertainer as opposed to a remake of a movie that already exists?
Like, remakes, when they do it the right way, like, I thought The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler was done perfectly.
It was a good remake. Yeah, that was a good remake. But, like, Ghostbusters. But, I mean, the remake of Adam Sandler is just a remake of the movie as opposed to trying to deal with a different group of people. Like, with either women or having an all-black cast. I think you do such a disservice to them. Like, Ghostbusters with women, those women are funny. They don't need Ghostbusters. They don't need a male base to come and watch a movie starring females. Those females could have just done something on their own.
This expectation level for Ghostbusters was here, and now you're like, all right, girls, go be as funny as this up here. Right. Crap.
Which they're perfectly capable of, but it was just handled so incorrectly. Like, Bridesmaids is one of the funniest movies of the decade. It's all women, and they don't necessarily need this remake of a base of a movie filled with males to, we are going to make you as funny as these guys. It was like, no, it has nothing to do with that. You could have just made a movie with those women and made it funny, as opposed to remaking a movie that was funny in the 80s for a new audience now, but having it be women. It just seemed like you did such a disservice to them. And
I'm looking forward to the third Ghostbusters movie, by the way.
I am too. Yes, I am very excited. Well, if you shoehorn Paul Rudd into anything, you count me in. But it's a continuation of the original story, which I prefer, as opposed to a full on remake that pretends they don't exist.
Well, no, they're continuing the story of the original ones.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it works. Okay, so let's quickly transition into sports a little bit.
Because you were about to send me into a tangent about the Terminator. I just watched Dark Fate, and that movie was A, funny, and B, really good. And they pretended a couple of the bad ones didn't exist. Yeah, well, not only that, but anytime you start talking about Terminator, I know that they were trying to get Christian Bale in there, and Christian Bale's always will be the Dark Knight to me. But that's another story. Yes, well, yeah.
Bruce Wayne. He was one of the best Bruce Waynes ever, one of the worst Batmans. Go figure.
That is a good point. I never thought about it like that. The voice. I do that voice to my daughter all the time. I'll grab her shirt and just go, "Where's Rachel?" And but she enjoys.
Swear to me.
Yeah, exactly. Did you get the last cheese stick? Anyway, go on.
So listen, you and I have both been Giants fans, and I always laugh when there's something big that happens with the Giants. Who usually give me a phone call and be like, "So what's going on with this?" And I'll be like, and I'll break it down. Look, I'm not even angry about what's going on with the New York Football Giants right now. I'm looking at it with a sober perspective from 3 different perspectives. 1, you have a new coach. 2, you have a lot of young players. 3, you have you pretty much didn't have an off season because you had no spring OTAs or anything else like that. So you're installing the season at training camp, which was shortened with no preseason.
Right.
And all of a sudden fans are like, how are we not winning games? fans, you should be lucky that this team is still in these games because you're trying to mesh together an offensive line, which has gotten better throughout the season.
Yes.
Your defense is doing an unbelievable job this year for what they are.
Yes.
And then you have a second-year quarterback who still has to learn how to handle the football in the NFL as far as fumbling and turning the ball over, which is a normal thing for a second-year quarterback. Now it's at an alarming rate when he's at 32 games and he's at 22 games and he has close to 40 turnovers. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. But I think once it's still they're not losing their learning right now.
Yeah,
and I think that's the attitude, and you see the improvement, and you see where it's going to get better from years now. Whereas the Jets are just terrible.
Yes. So I'm actually for the first time in a while a glass half full guy with the Giants. I actually love everything that they're doing right now. They haven't been blown out since the San Francisco game. They're losing games by 2, 3, 4 points, 1 point in some cases. And I think the defense is playing exceptional. I think the offense is learning a new offense under Jason Garrett, who is not necessarily an exceptional offensive coordinator. I mean, Daniel Jones, I guess statistically, has taken a step back, but he's also making a lot more. It seems like he's making a lot more throws that make sense, I guess. He's not forcing the ball a lot. And I think the defense is playing just way outside of itself, And I think I think their losses are lack of talent losses as opposed to scheme losses. Patrick Graham has been a phenomenal defensive coordinator. What he's done with that unit is just absurd. I think the D-line gets a lot of pressure. I mean, Bradbury's been the signing of I think he's been the best free agent signing of the offseason.
Him or Blake Martinez.
Yeah, Blake Martinez as well. Blake Martinez is not. This is not the guy I thought we were getting. By the way, I thought we were just getting an old school run stuffing middle linebacker, but he's playing the pass really well. He rushes the passer. Leonard Williams is getting sacks, which is a nice change of pace because that doesn't seem to happen that often. And the defense is definitely doing a great job. And I think considering their talent level, they're playing pretty spectacularly. And I you know what? I am a fan of everything that's going on with the Giants right now. And if they win or lose, it's not bothering me as much as it used to in previous seasons. And Jones is a young quarterback. I mean, he isn't exactly playing elite level competition or playing with elite level teammates at Duke. I mean, and if he did play elite level competition, it was with Duke players in the ACC, and there's not a ton he can do with. And the Giants don't have exactly any elite playmakers on offense right now with Barkley out, and they don't have a number one receiver.
It's true too. No, and the stuff with Barkley, I'm very, very strict with. I think you know me well enough to know with Barkley, I was always 50-50 on this.
Yes. But I think a number one receiver would help, like a legitimate number one receiver, if they were to find one in the draft this upcoming season, or excuse me, in this upcoming off season, or whether they address it in free agency or via trade. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the off season? Nobody knew DeAndre Hopkins was going to get traded, and there he goes. So I am extremely optimistic about the Giants, as opposed to if I was a Jet fan, which I would just be like, well, hopefully we get Trevor Lawrence and don't destroy his career also.
Listen, you and I can end up talking about Giants for hours on end, but wanted to just go, you and I were talking about phone before about Mount Rushmore sports. I want to finish up with that with you. This was a cool welcome back. 30 minutes of just talking and BSing like you and I usually do on the phone.
Right.
Real quick. So let's do Mount Rushmore sports. I'll give me yours and I'll give you mine. Then you can yell me about mine, and we can go from there.
Okay. So so the one I'll actually start out with the one that I told you was going to be a little bit of a surprise, and it's a broadcaster, and it's Kevin Harlan. I don't know why that guy makes me so happy, but hearing Kevin Harlan's voice for whatever reason, it's like, oh, I'm going to have a good time listening to this guy because Kevin Harlan's really funny. He did do an incredible job calling 2 games at once last year, which was amazing. I don't know if you saw that last year at the end of last year. He was calling 2 games at once, and then he calls like drunk fans running onto the field. I just appreciate people that are not self-serious, and he doesn't seem like a guy that takes himself too serious, but he's also phenomenal at his job. So Kevin Harlan is one. I know that's a very odd choice, but like I said, I have a soft spot in my heart for that guy just because I know I'm in for a good time when I listen to Kevin Harlan. So number 2, this is a childhood one. It's former Giant running back Rodney Hampton. I'm actually looking. I'm in my little man cave right now, which my daughter has trashed. But I am looking at a Rodney Hampton jersey right now that I bought off eBay, which I was very excited to get. And so Rodney Hampton is 2. Number 3 is this is just kind of another childhood one. But it is Penny Hardaway. I loved Penny Hardaway as a kid. Not necessarily
Little Penny.
Oh, those commercials were hysterical. I looked for a little penny doll on eBay, and I couldn't find one that my wife wouldn't have divorced me for buying. Given the price. So that is 3, and number 4 is Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson because
I don't know why I laugh about that.
No, see, and that's the reason I like Mike Tyson is because Mike Tyson is, I think he's quietly one of the most self-aware human beings on the planet. He has his own language, he's a pretty fascinating guy considering where he came from, and the fact that, like, if you look at the trajectory of his life, like where he came from, how he became a pro boxer, and then he has this odd boxing career. He has a lot of trouble in the middle there, whether that happened or not. And then he comes back, he bites Evander Holyfield's ear because he gets headbutted, sort of turns into a caricature, goes to rehab, gets his life together, and then becomes a stand-up comedian. That to me is just such a fascinating life. It's a very odd life, and I actually kind of like the weirdness of it. So that is my 4. Oh, and Penny Hardaway, again, to double back to him. I also really loved the movie Blue Chips as a kid. So,
oh my God,
I have a soft spot in my
heart. That's a great movie.
Bush McRae, a.k.a. Penny Hardaway. So those are my 4. Kevin Harlan, Rodney Hampton, Penny Hardaway, and Mike Tyson.
All right, you ready to beat me up?
No, go ahead. I can't. Mine were so odd.
I loved yours. I thought those were so random. My honorable mention was Derek Jeter.
Listen, I hate the Yankees, and I can't say anything bad about Derek Jeter or Mariano Rivera. I despise the Yankees, so I love that. I can't argue with Derek Jeter.
Okay, so I get a free pass on that one.
Yeah.
So I have Drazen Petrovic, which every Net fan should always have in their top 10 for everything.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, yeah, I can't really say anything,
Okay, next is Jason Kidd.
All right, we talked about Jason Kidd. I love the way he played basketball. Those Nets teams, he's a perfect point guard. He's absolutely perfect point. Created in a lab.
Yeah, and I also think because, remember, again, it's always all these Mount Rushmore things are subjective.
Yeah.
So I think that I look at it as I was there every single night as an intern.
Mm-hmm.
And so as an intern, I watched him and then doing a statistician. And so I was courtside for a lot of his stuff. And man, you just watch him all the time and you're just amazed. And I think you don't really appreciate it until you're there every single night. So, number three is Michael Jordan, just because if you watch The Last Dance and you're just like, okay, I grew up watching Jordan, and you're saying he's the best, and then you watch back and you get to fill in all the blanks and all the details of everything with that Chicago Bulls team.
Yeah,
and you don't even question anymore. You're like, okay, Michael's number 1. Let's just go.
Right. And back to your Kidd point, by the way, is if you play pickup basketball with a guy like Jason Kidd, it makes it so much more fun. So I can't even imagine playing professional basketball with a guy like that. Like if you play high school basketball or pickup basketball with a guy that just sees the court like he does, it just makes your life so much more fun. So, but on the Jordan thing, I can't disagree with that either. I'm looking at a Michael Jordan jersey currently as well, also hanging on my wall.
Yeah, and so it's just one of those things for me. And then number 4, and this is one I get beat up from, Eli Manning.
Oh, you're not going to hear anything about it. Eli Manning. I want to name my daughter Eli if she was a boy. I want to name my kid after the guy. Oh, you'll never hear me complain about it.
Well, the reasoning is simple.
About Eli when you're done, but go ahead.
Okay, the reason why Eli is because from a media perspective and a player perspective, playing in New York is one of the toughest things you can do. And being able to go out there, make a mistake, throw an interception, and come back out the next series and go score a touchdown is so hard. And I really, do you know who I see as an Eli-esque from earlier of his career, who's coming into his own right now, is Josh Allen in Buffalo, where Josh Allen could have a first half where he fumbles the ball 3 times and then come back out and win the game. I see a lot of that from I remember those days early with Eli. Eli would, if you remember back his, I think it was his second or third year, he was playing the Philadelphia Eagles. They were down like 37-3. No, or it was something huge, and they came back and won the game after Eli had a terrible first half.
Floater to Plexico Burris to win the game at the end of the game. I think I know exactly the game you're talking about.
Yeah,
that's that famous Burris catch.
Yeah, and then they had a bunch of that season. They had a bunch of games where they were down big in the first half, and they came back and won some really, really tough games. So that's Eli. That's for me. Eli, and he's just mentally tough. Doesn't get the love he deserves, even from Giants fans. He got beat up a lot.
Those people are ridiculous because also, not to keep saying this, but I actually, next to my Roddy Hampton jersey is an Eli Manning jersey. I don't know if I can turn the camera around and show you that I'm not lying about any of this, but there's a Jordan jersey, a Roddy Hampton jersey, and an Eli Manning jersey, literally to my right. So, but the Eli story I have. So, as you know, I was in the military. I was in the Army, and I was in the Army from 2005 to 2009, active duty, and then the inactive reserves after that. Just fulfilled my contractual obligation to the military. So from January of 2008 to March of 2009, I was deployed. I was in Iraq. I saw the Tampa Bay game and I saw the Dallas Cowboys game in America. So I deployed to Iraq. I trained in Kuwait for a few weeks. I did miss the Green Bay Packers game, the NFC Championship game, that freezing cold game. And then when I first got to Baghdad, I was on the Victory Base complex, which there was TVs and stuff, and I actually watched Super Bowl 42 in Iraq. Maybe 3 months being in the middle, or 3 weeks being in the Middle East, but I was in actual Baghdad for maybe 2 days. And my colonel, who is now I want to say he is the lead counsel for the entire United States Air Force. His name's Thomas Ayers. This man is my hero because he knew how big of a Giants fan I was. He told me, go find a TV, Keagle, go watch your Giants. And I was like, okay, beautiful. And they won that Super Bowl, and all the anxiety I had in my body about being in the middle of a freaking war zone washed away. And I was like, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. I cried like a baby when they won, and I'm not afraid to admit that. And I literally I interviewed Joe Buck for Back Sports Page and told him that his voice was the first time I thought about or felt back in America listening to him call that game. So I also will never hear any Joe Buck criticism because that guy was super nice to me on the phone. And that story, along with the Eli Manning part of it, along with the Plexico Burris part of it, the David Tyree. I got to tell David Tyree this exact story, by the way. And from that moment on, my deployment was as easy as a deployment can be. And this is just, it was one of those things where it's like, I don't know if my life can be better in this moment. And I'm in the middle of Baghdad. And it was, like I said, it's just one of those moments. It's right up there with my daughter being born. And I know that sounds rude to say, but it's like my daughter being born, that giant Super Bowl. So it's like, it's like two of like the 4 best moments of my life. I can't explain it. It's just, and I will always love Eli Manning for that. So as far as Mount Rushmore goes, those 4 names are carved on Eli Manning's cheek on the mountain.
Well, listen, that's awesome. First off, and also thank you again for your service. I always tell that to you. And listen, it's good to have you back, and we really appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
So on Twitter at Bill Keegle, and Instagram, which is 13KGL, which is just my last name, sort of. Whatever, abbreviated. My Instagram's fun. I do have a baking show I do with my daughter on my Instagram. So we do a baking show. We try to do one every couple of weeks where we make terrible cookies. We're not very good at baking, but we try our best. So definitely check that out. My daughter is a talent in and of herself. She's a unique individual, but very funny little girl.
Well, we're looking forward to having you back with us here, get you back on the air. And that's Bill Keegle. This is Back Sports Page, and we'll see everybody soon.
Yes, sir.